Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on, goblins and ghouls? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and on this day, this wonderful day, my favourite day of the year, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you my review of Babysitter Massacre. Written and directed by Henrique Corto, Babysitter Massacre stars Erin R. Ryan, Mary Lee Osborne, Joni Derlin, Tara Clark, Odette Despair, Serendipity Lynch, Jeff Berkman, and Stephanie Coffey, among many others. Babysitter Massacre tells the story of a group of young women teamed together in their youth to run a babysitting business. When one of their friends died suddenly, the group fell apart. Now years later, they're all going their separate ways as college approaches. But on Halloween night, someone is torturing and killing every member of the Babysitter Club. Perfect. Seeing as this video is coming out today, I wanted to go for something Halloween related, but didn't want to pick something too obvious, you know? One Google search later and I stumbled across this little gem. Babysitter Massacre is a super low budget slasher, which from what I've read is pretty good. Plus with the babysitter killer angle, a killer in a white mask, and the fact it's set at Halloween, it can be looked at on the surface at least as a weird low budget Myers-verse film. I'm getting real alternative reality vibes here. Anyway, besides the details that I just disclosed, I really know nothing of this film, so there's nothing left to do but crack the f*** on. The movie begins with a shot of a restrained blonde woman and a hand holding some scissors, before abruptly cutting to Ray Falls, Ohio, where we meet a babysitter and the kid she's looking after. The kid says she's sick, so the babysitter tells her to go take a nap before stripping off and taking a bath, which looks like a bath, by the way. There's barely any water in it and not even bubbles or anything. This just makes me think that she was running a bath and then halfway through the hot water ran out. And it doesn't even look hot. The fact that she's supposed to be having a bath in what looks like a lukewarm puddle was really unsettling to me. Also, get used to that picture of Nicolas Cage because you're going to be seeing it a lot in this review. During all of this, the babysitter is getting stalkerish text messages, culminating in the admittance that he is not in the house. Yet. The killer then super awkwardly comes through the door and half grabs the babysitter. Cut to the babysitter taped to a chair as the killer pulls 3 of her fingernails out and slits her throat as blood runs down her breasts and we get a title card. Cut to an older gentleman, Mr. Walker, sitting on some steps when he's joined by Angela. They chat breeze for a bit, but the gist is Mr. Walker is retired, his daughter April has been missing for 7 years and the county have just declared her dead. On a positive note, the guy playing Mr. Walker here is really trying to act. He's making choices and I'm here for it.
Thanks. It isn't new to me.
Angela expresses regret, saying she misses April too, and Mr. Walker says the only consolation he has is being able to watch her grow up next door. Mr. Walker then asks Angela if she's prepared for Halloween, to which she responds that she is. While she doesn't dress up anymore, she is going to have some friends over. He wishes her a good day before we cut to covered in blood. We see blood drip on the floor and then cut to a woman in the shower. Angela notices there's someone else in the bathroom when the curtain is ripped away to reveal Bianca. Cut to the pair having a conversation, with Bianca having recurring nightmares about a guy with the white head killing April. Angela tries to reassure Bianca that April's disappearance wasn't her fault. Angela then invites Bianca to her babysitter slumber party, to which she agrees. Cut to the woods as another girl talks to a tree before spray painting an X on it and apologising. She calls someone advising she wants to skip the party as someone with a hammer stalks through the woods. The killer scares the girl, who then goes running off. The girl pulls her phone out before being asked a question by the killer. The killer then sprays an X on her as we cut to another randomer walking down the stairs and we're treated to this wonderful exchange.
You're crazy.
And you're a
If you want to go ahead and jump in, be my guest. But I'm with my costume on. It's party time.
The performances here are just so wonderful. Cut to the girl returning from the garden when she's joined by the killer. The girl then drops this bar.
So, what are you? I get it, a tampon. Nice and absorbent.
And then runs out of insults and advises the killer she's going upstairs to get changed. She goes upstairs and discovers Sofa Bread are dead and is then grabbed by the killer. Cut to the killer cutting a bit of her off, and then an insert shot of the woman having a throat slit. Cut to Angela and her mum having a chat about Halloween, Mr. Walker and some other such bullshit, which is literally so soap opera. I love it. From the shot composition to the score, I genuinely love it. Their conversation is interrupted by a knock at the door. Angela answers to find her friend Lucky, who she invites inside. I love that it's clearly day for all the shots featuring the mum, but then nighttime when Lucky joins the scene. It's low budget, Jonjo, why don't you just leave them alone? No, this is all I have. Mum leaves and Angela gets a bunch of picture messages of her friends dead, but thinks it's just them in their costumes. Cut to Sandra in her office. She chats to her co-worker about the Johnson papers before we get this wonderful line delivery.
Run, go! Your youth is at stake!
I'm going home alone.
Cut to Sandra turning off all the office lights with the most over-the-top sound design ever before being scared by Bianca.
What the
They argue about Bianca being the reason that April is dead, with Bianca then leaving, and something that I love about this shot is the fact that Sandra has to leave the frame in the same direction as Bianca. There's something about that that's just incredibly uncomfortable and not correct, you know? It's minor, but it made me laugh. Cut to Bianca walking through the streets as Sandra starts to walk back through the office before discovering the killer stabbing the rapey colleague to death. The killer then chases Sandra in a weirdly edited sequence that I kinda love. Sandra hides, but the killer finds her and we cut back to the streets. Bianca lights a cigarette and spots the killer, who she follows but immediately loses. Cut to Angela and Lucky looking at pics of their dead mate thinking it's makeup. Suddenly Arlene appears saying she's broken up with Dave and they chat some more breeze. There's a knock at the door and they go to investigate, finding a box. They take it inside, finding it to be filled with lingerie. They make some cringe horror movie references and then get dressed up in the random lingerie.
There's a movie where girls are alone in a house in lingerie.
Sorority House Massacre 2.
Cut to another randomer waking up in a room with the killer. She's apparently fine with that and flirts, pulling off her clothes as the killer watches. She then tries to get sexy with Candy, which is hilarious, requesting the killer gives her a big surprise. The killer then pulls a knife before we cut back to Bianca as she's met with this. Pizza guy tries to ask her if she's okay and she calls him a pig. She pays for the pizza and him up. Cut to a party with people dancing. We then cut to a girl answering a misty door when the killer bursts out and breaks her neck. Cut back to the girls as we get more random nudity with Lucky getting dressed in the lingerie. And then exactly the same scene with Angela getting naked and getting dressed. Cut to Arlene walking out with her boobs out and the three having a deep convo about Lucky being intimidated by Arlene's boobs. Cut to Bianca talking to herself and then back to the girls talking about their outfits. Okay, come on, pick it up, we were doing so well, you know? There's a knock at the door and they answer, finding it to be Mr. Walker. He hands them his Halloween leftovers and goes on his way. Cut to them cracking joke about what just happened. Cut to a dead guy in a car and then to the other bird strapped to a chair. The killer pours boiling water on her before taking a picture and stabbing her in the head. Cut back to the girls. There's another knock at the door and Arlene goes to answer, finding Bianca and dropping this absolute bar.
Did someone order a
Arlene suggests they all play a Ouija board and they get involved. The board spells out April and Arlene asks what it's like to be dead. The board replies, lonely. Arlene then asks, why are you lonely? Why are you dead? That's when the board points to Bianca and she ducks out. Cut to another random party. A woman in a red dress breaks off from the group when she hears a knock at the door, answering it and finding nothing. She closes the door and we crack on as she munches on candy. She pulls a mask out from the pile and heads to the basement, pulling it on to scare her friends. That's when she finds all of her friends dead and does a runner before being caught by the killer. Cut to Bianca calling Pizza Man and getting him to pick her up. In the car, Bianca explains about the white-faced killer, but Pizza Man just shrugs it off. Cut to the girls as they wonder why Angela's fella hasn't turned up yet, and then go into a deep convo about how Arlene's dad left and isn't dead like Angela's dad, and that's actually worse because it was his choice and Arlene is way worse off. Like if her dad wasn't dead, it'd be better because it wouldn't be up to him. Cut to Red Dress being sprayed in the face with something and then foaming up something. Cut to the car as Bianca and Pizza Man chat more breeze. They decide to head back to the girls on Elm as we cut to them all asleep. The killer then emerges, chloroforming them all as Blonde says that she knew he'd come. Cut to them waking up in a basement and being all shouty. Lucky says the killer told her that if they want to live, they have to kill Lucky. Angela tries to get out but can't. That's when the killer throws a hammer into the room, leaving them all with one course of action. Cut back to Bianca and Pizza Man having another boring conversation. Cut to the girls as Arlene hammers Lucky to death, with more golden dialogue here.
Do you think I want to do this? Do you think I like this? Do it!
Cut to Bianca knocking on the door outside when she's frightened by Mr. Walker. He apologizes and they have an awkward conversation with him downplaying the other women's absence. He asks if she needs a ride, but Bianca declines and tries to walk away, but Mr. Walker stops her, saying that Halloween was April's favourite time of the year and that she loved going out with Bianca. That's when Mr. Walker headbutts Bianca, knocking her out. Cut to the killer in the room with the girls. Arlene then says this line, which to me sounds like, "Why won't you just leave us go?"
Why won't you just leave us go?
Just beyond pleased that got left in the final cut. The killer then starts to strangle Arlene before breaking her neck and revealing himself to be Mr. Walker. Cut to Bianca waking up and then back to Mr. Walker and Angela. He cuts Angela's Achilles tendons and then they have a chat. Mr. Walker admits to killing everyone, including his daughter, because he loves Angela. He says he wanted her to have a fresh start, for them both to have a fresh start. She's not into it apparently, but that's when Mr. Walker advises she will come to love him in time. Love is patience. Cut back to Bianca and then to Walker and Angela as he starts to douse the kitchen in gasoline. In a really long and awkwardly framed shot, we watch Angela grab a knife, which she then uses on Mr. Walker as he tries to pick her up, stabbing him in the gut. Really weakly and not deeply at all, but apparently enough to him up. Mr. Walker then pulls another secret knife and stabs Angela again. Angela tries to crawl away as Mr. Walker makes a blood heart on the floor. Mr. Walker says that the only thing more romantic than running away together is dying together and pulls out a lighter. That's when Bianca comes bursting through the door. Bianca stands at the doorway screaming for a bit as Angela tells her to run. She does, and Angela says that it's not her fault as Mr. Walker lights the gas and the building is engulfed in flames. Bianca then stands outside crying and watching the house burn as she's comforted by the pizza man. The end. Yeah, what a strange little movie this was. Babysitter Massacre is exactly the type of film that people assume all slasher movies are. Bad acting, violence and constant unnecessary nudity. And I kinda love it for that. Made on what looks like a budget of just a few $100s, Babysitter Massacre has a certain charm to it that many other low budget films do not. It looks like everyone involved had a blast making it and gave it their best attempt in terms of performance. No one here is purposefully not giving a shit, which I respect. The standouts being Bianca, Mr. Walker and Angela. The nudity here is also hilariously gratuitous. It feels like everyone involved knew what they were getting into and just went for it. I also love the surface level Halloween similarities, with the holiday elements playing a part in the story, even if it's just an excuse to get the cast naked. Also, the film had this punk rock aesthetic that I really liked. It's not Oscar worthy, clearly, with the story, gore and acting all being pretty terrible, but the movie carries an indie charm that left me with a smile when the credits abruptly appeared. This movie needs to be added to your Halloween playlist 100%, either as background viewing or watching with your mates. Apparently there are other entries in the Babysitter Massacre series, so I'm going to be checking those out as soon as possible. But yeah, well worth your time. A funny, charming, terrible little slasher movie. So that was my review of Babysitter Massacre. Have you seen it? If you have, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Also, consider going over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons and donating to support my descent into the hell of low-budget horror cinema. But in the meantime, as always, like, share, subscribe. My name is Jonjo Lyons, and I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween.